Hey guys, coming over something that I really was not looking forward to reviewing. I honestly was kind of dreading this, but either way, let's just get into it. As you guys know, one of my main passions in life, something that I, really do love, is musicals. I will do anything I can to seek out musicals. I watch as many there are out there, and I'm very, very passionate about it. To the point where sometimes maybe I do overstep, or overhype something, or I give something too much praise. But most times I try to be very fair. If something's bad, I will tell you guys it's bad. You know how The Sound of Music Live turned out. But when it comes to live performances, I try to be very, very fair, like I said. I try to not be too upset about it. This was something I really was not looking forward to, and that is the tribute of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Let's do the time warp again. Let's just get into this bullshit, because I had no interest in this whatsoever. I mean, who was thinking they wanted this to be remade? I can't think of anyone that thought, oh yeah, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, that's a musical that needs to be remade and on network TV. I don't know anyone who said that, but as you guys could tell, I really was not looking forward to this at all. I thought that it just sounded like a very, very unnecessary remake that looked like it was pretty much going to trash the original, and honestly looked kind of insulting to the original, so I really was not looking forward to this at all. And as it turns out, while this wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, this is still one of the most unmemorable, underutilized, and overall unnecessary productions of any musical I have seen in a very long time, with some of the most unusually cheesy and ridiculous choices that I've seen, and overall is a complete misstep in every single way. But let's get into the plot of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. If you guys don't know the plot, roughly the plot of the show, we follow these two characters, Brad and Janet, and I did review the original Rocky Horror Picture Show if you guys want to check that out. I was planning on watching the movie before this came out, but I didn't get a chance to. But either way, the plot of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, essentially, you have these two characters, Brad and Janet. They are recently, they've gotten engaged, and basically, one night, they end up, their car ends up breaking down, so Brad finds this castle where he goes to use their phone, and essentially, they are taken into what kind of is like, a Comic-Con of sorts, they think at least, like a Comic-Con called, Transylvania. We don't really know what's going on with it, but they're taken there, and basically they are thrown into this world of many different characters, and that's all I'm really gonna say, because I don't want to say too much about this, but let's just get into this overall so I can really talk about the things that I didn't like, because there's not many things I did like, to be honest with you guys. Now, when it comes to any musical, one of the things that is most important is the cast. You need to have a cast that's able to carry a show. You need to have a cast that's fun and enjoyable, and the last two live musicals have done really well with that. The Wiz Live had one of the best casts I've seen for a stage production in a long time on TV, and Grease Live was also a really great production. So when the cast was announced for this, I honestly was shocked. I think, in general, this is a real step back from what Fox needs to do. The cast in here really is just very, very mediocre. Let's talk about Laverne Cox, because I really do feel bad for her. I think Laverne Cox is a very, very good actress. I think she's had some fantastic stuff on Orange is the New Black. I think overall, she just does a very good job. The problem is she is horribly miscasted in this role as Frankenfurter, and it's mainly because, for some reason, I don't know how Fox went wrong with this, but Fox completely got this character wrong. Frankenfurter is supposed to be a man who, or woman, it could have been a woman, who is confused and who identifies himself as something else, and the rest of the world doesn't accept them that way, and they're very confused with themselves. And this completely ruins every deep aspect of that character. One of the biggest parts of Rocky Horror Picture Show is supposed to be the struggle for acceptance and trying to, trying to be a certain way and not having people accept you. By making Frankenfurter a woman, it completely deters from that, and it really did not work. Laverne Cox is definitely trying. It's not at all her fault. It is the direction for her character, which is ridiculous. I have no idea what they were thinking. especially since this is Fox, who is so important. They make so many shows about people being gay and acceptance. The fact that they got this wrong appalls me. I have no idea where they went wrong with this. I think Laverne Cox could have been really good if she had any other role, but she, as much as she tried, it would have never worked from the beginning, and really was just a really dumb choice to begin with. So Laverne Cox really did not work here. And unfortunately, that's one of the biggest misfires. Frankenfurter usually is a standout in the show, but by changing him to a woman, it does in fact make a difference. And it really did not work overall. I mean, I was willing to give it the benefit of the doubt, seeing if they could maybe run with it and see if they could make it work. But in the end, all it really did was confuse me and really made me uncertain what they were trying to do, and really ruin the show in ways it shouldn't have. And to be honest, I don't really have much to say about the rest of the cast. The rest of the cast here, I wouldn't say they're horrible. They're just very, very mediocre or very badly miscasted. Let's talk about our Brad and Janet. Brad and Janet right off the bat, these are two characters who are supposed to be going through the loss of innocence, and I don't know if Ryan McCartan and Victoria Justice have seen the original movie, but they clearly were very confused with these characters, because they're supposed to be, like I said, going through a loss of innocence. They're supposed to be going from these two innocent characters to people who are now aware of sex, and have been thrown into this world of bliss and things like that, kind of going through an Adam and Eve type experience, and I didn't get that at all from them. Ryan McCartan, I thought, did an okay job. I thought definitely in the beginning he was really good. He was hamming it up a lot, and he did do a good job with that, because yeah, this is Rocky Horror, you should ham it up. I thought overall he was good. Some scenes he was a bit too over the top. I was kind of trying to figure out what he was really trying to do, because sometimes he was channeling Barry Bostwick from the original movie. Then other times I had no idea really what he was trying to do. He was trying to be something completely different, and I really couldn't figure that out. Victoria Justice here is the weak link of this entire thing. I mean, Laverne Cox, like I said, having her being a woman in general didn't work, but Victoria Justice is by far the worst in this cast, and it's not that she's bad, it's that she does not understand the character of Janet at all. Janet is not someone who is just scared every 45 seconds at whatever happens to her, and is not someone who, is completely thrown off by everything. Janet is someone who clearly is not as innocent as she seems, and in this it really just didn't work. I think Victoria Justice was completely miscasted here. She can't really sing the songs that they gave her, and I think her and Ryan McCartan's chemistry, it was there, but I just thought overall she really did not work here. She really was not that great, unfortunately, and that really goes for the rest of the cast. Anna Lee Ashford, Christina Milan, they're fine in their roles as Magenta and Columbia, but they don't really give them that much to do. I felt like they had a lot more to do in the original movie, and here they just didn't really understand the characters, and I don't really think that worked very well. Unfortunately, the only roles I can really compliment and actually say did a really good job, Reeve Carney right off the bat, I thought was great here. I thought as Riff Raff, he was perfectly casted. He had the part down perfectly. He had the accent down. He also tried to do his own thing with it, and it worked really, really well. I definitely got a Dorian Gray sense from his character, but he realized this isn't Dorian Gray 2.0, and he did a good job with that overall, so I was impressed with him. I thought he definitely was the best out of all of them. Ben Viren was good as Dr. Scott. I like what I saw of him in the show. Show, movie, whatever you want to call it. I thought overall he was good as this character. And then Adam Lambert, even though he's in one scene, did a good job for what he was in, but that's it. The rest of the cast in this is completely underutilized, just very, very unmemorable, and extremely mediocre. It is one of the most bland casts I've seen in a show in a while, and I really, especially for a show that is so based on, variety and needs to have a great cast and weird eccentric personalities, the fact that this was such a bland cast really makes no sense whatsoever, and I really think they could have gotten this right, and they just didn't at all. But the cast is definitely not the main problem with the show. The main problem with the show, without a doubt, and you guys know what I'm going to say, is the directing and the writing. Holy shit, I have no idea what Fox was thinking. I mean, again, Fox, this is a network that is so based on sexual acceptance and all of these shows about being gay and crossing the line. I mean, look at some of the shows they put out, Empire, Scream Queens. There's so much stuff in there that I can't believe they'd show on TV, and they have Kenny Ortega be the director of this, which is probably the worst decision they could have made. I don't think Kenny Ortega is a bad director. I really don't. I don't think he's bad, but he does not know how to direct adult stuff. He really doesn't. I think he's so used to directing Disney Channel stuff that he didn't really know how to handle more mature material, and in the end, it really did not work. Everything in this show, it ends up coming off very forced and very over the top, and not in the fun, cheesy way it's supposed to, because yes, it is poking fun at B-movies, but I didn't get that vibe from this. What I got the vibe of is Kenny Ortega does not really understand this show, and he doesn't really understand the context or subtext or really what this show is all about. He thinks the show is simply just about, you can tell definitely the whole experience part is there, but he clearly does not understand the true vision of the show, and I really think the tone really just wasn't there. It was not working in many scenes, and I think he really did not understand what they were really trying to do, which I don't really understand why he didn't know, but the writing is definitely the biggest problem with this. Every line is word for word of the movie. That's fine. I have no problem with that. It was the original screenplay, but they didn't try to change it up at all. Honestly, I think they could have changed some things up. They did put in Planet Schmant Janet. That was clever. And they did put in superheroes at the end, which I was happy about. But other than that, everything is the same. There's nothing really sticking out from this, except for one very bizarre choice that I really don't know what they were doing, where they tried to make this a tribute of sorts by having the audience react to scenes throughout the movie and then cutting back to this movie theater audience, quoting lines and throwing things at the screen and reacting to what characters are saying, and it just became very degrading and very tedious and really did take me out of the overall story. Here's the thing. If you want to do a tribute, do a tribute. The way you do a tribute is do a concert. Do a behind-the-scenes look. Don't do another adaptation of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, because by doing the story and by putting on the show, you're not doing a tribute, you're doing an adaptation. And by them saying this is a tribute, this is not at all a tribute. What this is showing that the Rocky Horror Picture Show is a very big cult following, but they really do shove it down your throat that, oh my god, this is so beloved, and oh my god, Rocky Horror Picture Show is just so amazing, and everyone loves it. And they really do such a great job of shoving that down your throats, and it really was annoying me. I mean, the second that they had that science fiction double feature introduced with Ivy LeBon singing, that's when I knew that it really did not work, and none of it really worked overall, and I thought they really did not do a good job with that. The tone is very inconsistent here. I mean, there were not many times where I laughed. I'm going to be completely honest, I did not laugh many times because I didn't know what they were really trying to do. It seemed like they were trying to go for a more campy or sillier approach, which, yes, the original was very campy and silly, but it seemed like here they're trying to do something a little bit more modern and over the top, and I really couldn't tell what they were trying to do, and that really didn't work. But the thing that worked the least, which sucks, are the dramatic moments, and that really sucks because that's actually the thing that worked the best in the original movie, is the character of Frankenfurter, and that's something that this does not understand. It doesn't know how to do the dramatic stuff. It knows how to do campy stuff okay, and I will admit there were some things I had a lot of fun with, but it doesn't know how to handle the overall story, and it doesn't get what makes this such an interesting story and why people love the Rocky Horror Picture Show as much as they do. Yes, they have the context in there, but by changing a lot of what they did, a lot of that context doesn't really make a lot of sense. The sets here, I thought, were way too glossy and just way too covered. It seemed like this was trying to be very contained, and I don't know why they were trying to do that. It's like they were trying to hide all the sexual aspects of the show, which again makes no sense to me since this is Fox, who is so based on that. I have no idea why they were trying to do that, and I'll tell you why. My other biggest problem with the show is that it should not have been a pre-recorded TV movie. I think this would have worked perfectly if it was live. I mean, if they wanted to do a tribute of sorts, get the audience there, get them to throw things, get them to say things, that would have been awesome to see, because it would have been live, would have been on the spot. That's why Grease Live works so well, because you had an audience there, and it really added to the fun. By not having an audience, they did try to do that, but by not having it live, it really did show, the way that this was lazily put together, because it was very lazily put together. The sets look like something from a sci-fi original movie, I will say that, and I get it, it's supposed to be a B movie, but the sets in general looked very boring. It looked like they just threw something together, and it just really didn't seem like it worked very well. I really was not a fan of the sets overall, and the costumes, like I said, they're really covering up a lot of it, and a lot of the show is supposed to be embrace your sexuality, but you have Columbia, who's wearing like a very, very clean dress. You have Magneto, you have Magenta, who's wearing a very clean dress, and I don't understand why they really decided to do that. That didn't really make sense to me. It just didn't really go with the overall tone of the show, and that really did suck overall. And let's talk about the music, because I really have a lot to say about it. Usually, I have some good things to say about the music, but not here. Honestly, the music in this, they kind of ruined, I have to say, and I think it's mainly because instead of them trying to pay tribute to the music, which they did do in some spots, I think the two ones that felt the most like the original were Superheroes. Damn It, Janet definitely felt like the original. Didn't really seem like they changed that one up that much. And Hot Patootie. Those ones felt like they seemed like the original. The other songs here, they changed up and made these very overly produced versions, and that is my biggest problem with this, is that the music already was great. I don't know why they needed to change it. You didn't need all these background, all these hoots and whistles that they try to do. It just really did not work overall, and especially because the singers here just don't really know what to do with these songs. I mean, again, with them keeping some of the lyrics the same, a lot of, especially Frankenfurter, which sucks, a lot of her, I don't even know what we're supposed to call her, because I don't know if it was supposed to be a him or a her, because Laverne Cox is a woman, but in this, I guess she's playing a man. I really could not tell. When Janet's freaking out over Frankfurter, I didn't understand why. There was nothing creepy about her. And that's something else. You don't really get a creepy demeanor from what's going on. It felt very much like just a costume party, and I didn't really think that worked very well at all. Frankenfurter looked like Kinky Boots. That's what Frankenfurter looked like. The show Kinky Boots, but that's the costume for Kinky Boots. It's not the costume for Rocky Horror Picture Show. I don't know where they didn't make that connection, but that is not what Frankenfurter is supposed to be wearing. Not already supposed to be in black. He's supposed to be the way Tim Curry looked, and here, it looked like something out of Kinky Boots. And if I want to see Kinky Boots, I go see Kinky Boots. But it just didn't really work here. It looked like something from like a strip club in the 1920s. It just didn't really work in the way they wanted to, and most of the costumes looked that way. Most of the costumes just didn't really understand it, and that's my biggest problem, is that they really did not understand this show, and it really did show in pretty much all aspects of this show, and that's really why this was as bad as it was. And that's really all I have to say about the Rocky Horror Picture Show. This overall was a very, very generic, very underutilized, and just very uninspired adaptation that did have some good things about it. Like I said, there are the occasional fun songs in there, and there are some good performances from Reeve Carney, but they're not enough to keep me from giving this a very low score. And overall, you might be surprised, I didn't hate this, but I am going to give the Rocky Horror Picture Show Let's Do the Time Warp Again a 2.5 out of 5 or a C-. I honestly can't recommend this. I wish I could. I wish I could say, hey, if you are interested, check it out, but I honestly won't say that. Check out the original. That's what you need to do. Check out the original. It's classic for a reason. There's a reason why people keep going to see it today, because of how great it was, and this is just another very lazily put, very underutilized adaptation that should have just stayed left untouched and should not have been remade. This should have never been remade. This could have been a lot better than it was if it had a more capable director and it had a much better cast who clearly does like what they're doing. I will say it definitely did seem like they're having fun, but overall, very underutilized production, very unmemorable, and something that I definitely cannot recommend to really anyone.